All right, welcome to how to apply for the Illinois Deer Firearm Lottery. So you have one more day left to do this in the recording of this. So we're happy that you're able to join us, and hopefully we can answer some of your questions right before you apply. You can even feel free to go along with us as we go through these steps to apply with us. So put this on if you're watching the recording of this, and hopefully we can help you get through this, and you can find a good spot to get out and hunt next fall. Real quick, for those attending the webinar, your microphones and webcams are off, so no stress there. If you have any questions, you can put that in the chat window, and we can answer those as we go through. The more questions you ask, the more in detail we'll get on whatever specific questions you may have. If not, we'll breeze right through this and kind of go over the steps on how to apply, and also some resources that are available to help you figure out which sites maybe better than others to try to apply for, depending on where you're at in the state. And then we will send out a copy of this PowerPoint and a recording of this webinar for folks to watch at a later date.
Yeah, and we're going to try to,
Presenters,
to,
oh,
to
go
go
ahead.
pretty quickly. So we're going to throw up the recording this evening, right after
Yeah.
this gets out, since the deadline is tomorrow. We've had quite a few people who registered but aren't able to make it tonight, so we want to make sure we get that. So if you have to leave early, just check your email, and you'll have an email from us probably within an hour or so after we conclude here with a link to it on our YouTube channel.
hmm Yep. So that's Dan. So I'm Jason. So we're the presenters tonight. Welcome. We're part of the Illinois Learn to Hunt team. So we're happy to be here for you and help you get through this process. So we're going to get right into it, Dan. So the website that you're going to use to apply is going to be Explore More Illinois or exploremoreil.com. And that's going to get you to log in or create an account, depending on if you've gotten a license from the DNR before or not. You might have to create an account to go in and purchase your first license. It's pretty straightforward. It's just like creating an account on any other website. So you can go through and create that account and give the information needed, or you can log back in. So to log back in, there's several ways you can log into your account. One, you'll always get a customer number from the DNR, and that will never change. So once you get that customer number, that's going to be tied to you for your life. So you can use your
And
customer
it is
number.
the
That's
same for fishing. So if you've already bought a
yeah.
fishing license before, or you've bought a trapping license, you already have that customer number.
Yep. So you can use your customer number to log in here. If that doesn't work, you can click on these other options. So you can use your driver's license number, you can use your passport or visa number, or you can create a username and password like all the other websites we've ever used, and use your username and password to log in. So once you logged in, you'll see this page. And for this, right now, we're going to go to buy licenses and permits. Another button that you're going to see here that we're commonly used under licenses is going to be purchase history. So once the lottery of any type of any type of lottery you're applying for turkey or deer or upland or anything, waterfowl, whatever lottery you apply for, go to purchase history, and then that will show the result if you got something or not. So it will fill back in saying that you purchased a lottery ticket for firearm. It'll tell you when and which site it is for. So that's where you check to see if this works out. But for right now, to apply, we're going to go to buy licenses and permits, which is in that first license button right there. So, depending on the type of on the time of year and what licenses are available for purchase, will determine what this page looks like. So, right now, because the resident deer firearm is open and muzzleloader is open, that's what's populated in this. If it was during the turkey lottery, the turkey licenses would be here. But right now, we're going to be looking at the deer firearm licenses as well as deer muzzleloader. Dan, you want to talk a little bit about the differences between these?
Yeah, so this is where you kind of get into the strategy and the game. I don't want to say the gamification, but there is a little bit of gamesmanship here in deciding, what permit you want. And for me, a lot of it really comes down to what do I view as my best chances of actually drawing a permit? Because for me, that's my biggest hang up with this entire process. For me personally, is I want to obtain a permit as often as I can. It doesn't have to be a permit that I'm, you know, at a site where I expect to shoot a monster Boone and Crockett buck. For me, I just want to put meat in the freezer. The firearm season is a great time to do that. So for me, a lot of it comes down to what do I view as my best odds of drawing a permit. A lot of it depends on where you want to hunt, which we will talk about quite a bit here in a little bit. But a lot of it comes down to, does that site or area even allow for a muzzleloader? And so a muzzleloader is essentially a different type of firearm that you're loading through the breech. You're not loading like a cartridge like you would for one of these single shot rifles or for a shotgun slug. It's loaded through the breech. And what this does is it gives us an extra opportunity to hunt with a firearm in Illinois. So not only are you able to use a muzzleloader rifle or muzzleloader firearm during the second weekend of firearm season, but there's also an entire extra muzzleloader season that's only for muzzleloader permits, only for muzzleloader firearms. So you have to have that specific permit. And so if you're interested in potentially trying that out, again, that gives you an entire extra weekend that other people may not get to hunt. But again, I would want to clarify, make sure the sites that you're interested or the area that you're interested in hunting is open for the muzzleloader season. And we'll talk about that as we kind of continue through this process. But that's kind of the first thing to decide up front is, are you interested in doing a firearm or a muzzleloader? Again, me
Hmm.
personally, where we live, a lot of the sites around us are not open for this extra muzzleloader season. And so for me, it makes sense to just put in for that first lottery during the deer firearm and get a permit that way.
Yep. And if you're in an area that is like more in the more rural areas, it may be open to both. So you can apply for
Mm-hmm.
both and get both if you'd like to.
And I should clarify, there are a few sites out there. They've started to dwindle, but when I first moved to Illinois about a decade ago and I started hunting, one of the sites I hunted, you could actually just buy a muzzleloader permit that was based on the county. So you didn't even have to go through the entire lottery process to get, let's say, a Clinton Lake State Recreational Area muzzleloader permit. You could just get a DeWitt County muzzleloader permit and go hunt that individual site, which then allows you to put in your first application for your firearm permit at a really good site that you really want to try to draw. But then in the back of your mind, you kind of always knew, okay, well, at least I still have a potential over the counter muzzleloader option that I might be able to sneak in.
Mhm. So this will be if you clicked on the firearm, going back to the one, if you click on firearm application for lottery one, this will be the next window that you'll see. And from here, you'll see different tags that you can select. So the first tag, and then also the prices of those tags. So first tag is antlerless only. So that would be an antlerless deer. So it could be a like a button buck. So the way that they don't go buck and doe tags in the state, they go antlerless or either sex. So antlerless would be a deer without antlers, and so that's like a doe tag. And then you can also do an either sex tag, and this would be a buck tag or a doe tag. And then you have either sex, which is ES, and antlers only, which is AO tags, which is a both tags, and that is normally for private land or lands that take county level tags in the counties listed there. That you can actually get two tags for that price. What I always apply for is going to be the either sex tag, so that way, if a buck or a doe comes in front of me, I'll have one tag that I can shoot a buck or a doe with. Is that what you do, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. And it's
Yeah.
important to note too that this top option for the firearm antlerless only, that is only for a very few select locations, and it
Yeah.
actually does spell it out right beneath it. So in reality, if you are not applying for Starved Rock State Park or Wards Grove, I think it's Nature Preserve,
Hmm.
NP, whatever that means, then you will never select that option. Those are only for those
Yeah.
individual sites because they're trying to reduce their doe herd at those individual sites. So there's an option there. So yes, for me, I'm always putting in the either sex. And the nice thing, like Jason says, is when you get that either sex permit, that just means any legal deer that's out on the landscape during your firearm hunting season in your firearm zone is legal game. And for me, that's what I'm looking for during the firearm season. I'm not necessarily focused on big antlers. I just want to get some meat in the freezer.
Yeah, and actually, the list there says note antlerless only firearm permits are not issued for the following counties. So that's actually counties where they are not going to give you an antlerless only tag. It's going to be places where they are trying to grow the deer herd. Right, Dan?
Correct. And
Yeah.
so what you'll see is a lot of those counties that are listed there are also the same counties that are in the restricted archery season access. So I know like Champaign, that's a big one right by us, right? So they have a reduced archery season. So for the entire first month of October, you can't harvest does. And the whole theory is, well, we need those does to survive so we can get more deer back in the landscape because the DNR has decided in those areas the metrics are not what they want. So they want to increase that population a little bit. So that's kind of the same thing you're seeing here is these counties just don't have a population that could sustain additional harvest.
Hmm. All right. So, Dan, you want to explain the group application process?
Yeah, so the group application process, it's a little confusing at first, but it means well. And what I mean by that is, let's say Jason and I, we want to hunt together. If one of us draws, no, we want to hunt together. We either both want to draw, or neither one of us draws. We're putting all our eggs in that basket. And so what that allows you is this group lottery application. And the way this works is, let's say again, it's Jason and I. I will create my application and I will mark, just as you see here, I am the group leader. That's all I will need to do at the first stage. Then I will go through and finish out the rest of my application, submit it. And again, we'll go through that process here in a second. But now all I have to do is send Jason, hey, here's my group number, which you will be given at the end of your application. I can send it to him. All he has to do is now come into his application, enter the group leader number, enter my last name, hit join group, and his application is done. It completely matches mine. And what that does is it says, if I draw a tag, Jason and I are both going to draw that exact same tag. So we get to hunt together. So that's kind of the way it works. Now, there is one caveat that I think is important to note. Now, according to DNR, this does not artificially inflate or deflate your lottery chances of actually drawing a permit. But I do want to point out this bottom bullet here, because I think it is somewhat important. Let's say you are the last permit to be drawn at a specific site, and you have a group that has 3 or 4 people in it, and there's only one permit left. Well, if your name gets pulled out of that hat, and again, there's only one left, they're going to push you off to the side, and they're going to grab some other name from that applicant pool. So keep that in mind, that if you are one of the last permits drawn, it may have some downsides. But again, you'll never know that. You'll just know, oh, we didn't draw, and move on with your life. But I think it is worth mentioning. Just again, it's a good idea if you really want to hunt with somebody, but it does have its downsides for sure.
Yeah, it makes me think of like a hunt camp scenario. Like, say you guys are planning a
Yes,
weekend away,
exactly.
and it's like either all of us are going to hunt or none of us are going to hunt. So let's all
Yep.
put in for
And that's
that.
fantastic for, let's say, a site like we're going to show in a second, Jim Edgar, Panther Creek, or down in the Shawnee, where you're really
Hmm.
not too challenged to draw a permit. There's a lot of permits available. There's a lot of access. There's a lot of opportunity. That's when a group application may play out a little better than, let's say, you're putting in for, I don't know, some site that only allows 3 or 4 hunters out because it's a 600-acre site or something like that. Then you're almost doing yourself a disservice a little bit. But on some of
Hmm.
these bigger properties, I definitely see the value of some of the group applications. Yeah, so as we go through this, you can see you'll pick your first choice. Now, can you just go ahead and trigger the next slide so I can show this real quick, Jason?
Yep.
When you click that drop down menu, I want to be very clear. These are a mix of DNR sites. They're a mix of counties. So be very certain when you're selecting which option that you're selecting the option you want. I mean, just as a perfect example, there's a Clinton on this list. That is Clinton County. There's also a Clinton Lake State Recreation Area. We also ran into an issue. There's a piece of property called the Piatt County unit of Weldon Springs. There's also a Piatt County. And so just make sure as you're going through that application, you understand what exactly you're selecting. Now, as you can see, it's pretty easy at first glance to see if they don't have any qualifiers behind them. They don't have a ton of additional letters or nonsense. They're just one word and then blank. Those are going to be your counties. It would be nice if they said Bond County, Boone County, Brown County, but they don't. But just note, this is just an all-encompassing list that encompasses all the DNR sites that you can apply for, as well as counties that are open for this season as well.
Yep. And if you click the wrong one and you get selected, there's no refund and there's no going back. You just eat
Yeah,
that
and
ticket that
it's
year.
unfortunate, especially with the county level permits. We've had several people who've made this mistake over the years and reached out to us, and it's the most heartbreaking thing ever, because there's really nothing that can be done. So just pay special attention to it for sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, so you'll go through, you'll make your first selection. Can you go back one more slide? Just, I know we kind of went
Yep.
out of order there for a second.
No, that's
Screwed you up.
fine.
One more.
There you go.
There we go. So you'll go ahead and, just like that drop down menu, you'll pick your first management choice and you'll hit add choice. When you click that add choice button, another drop down menu will pull up with your second choice. And the way this works is, let's say I'm going to pick the 2 biggest sites in the entire state, Jim Edgar Panther and Pyramid State Recreation Area. Let's say I put Jim Edgar Panther as first and Pyramid as my second. If I get drawn and there are still tags that are able to be allocated from my first choice, I will get that first choice. If all of those first choice permits have been allocated already, by the time my name gets pulled, then I will get my second choice. Now, if all those second choices are gone, then so on and so forth, you're just not going to get drawn. So that's kind of the way it operates. Now, you will notice there are a few fallback options, and these are very site specific. So definitely read through this note that's listed here and make sure that you're actually applying for one of these sites that has a fallback choice. Not all of them do. The vast majority of the ones I hunt do not, but just know that that is an option. So basically, with that fallback, you're almost getting three separate selections there.
Hmm. So if you're new to hunting and don't know kind of where to even begin with that site, like how do I pick a site and how do I know which site's good to go hunting on? And how do I even know where the sites are? A good website that we found is the IDNR has come out this web page probably about 5 years ago now, almost.
Yeah, it's been some
It's
time.
huntillinois.org. It bugs once in a while, so check in on it. So hopefully it's working when you go and look at it. But it helps you find a site because the hunt map is the best tool I find on this whole web page. So, Dan, do you want to pull that up?
Yep.
I'll stop share. So this hunt map has all the sites on Illinois laid out, and it gives you at least the boundaries for the sites, and it shows you the non-hunt areas. So if there's a site office or some type of or a campground or something that you can't hunt near, that will be you can highlight that and show that on the map.
And
But
what
so
this
these are
is
all the
really
public
good
land
for,
sites.
oh yeah,
Go
and
for it.
what Jason was kind of hinting at right when we brought this up, it's really good at this stage of the process. We were going, I don't even know what lands are around me. Prior to this website being developed, it was literally a list on DNR's website that was alphabetical order just of the site names, and it was so hard to know. Okay, well, is that up in the northwestern part, or is that way down south? And so at least now we have a little geographic representation, so you can kind of just scroll around your area and look for different public sites that may happen to be in that specific area. So we're just going to zoom into some of the bigger ones just to again show and not give away too much trade secrets. Everyone gets a little upset when you start to publish their hunting spots a little bit. So we'll zoom in here to Jim Edgar, and you can see it puts a beautiful boundary around the entire property. It has the no hunting areas marked as well as all the parking lots. And so that's one thing I'm looking at right up front is what is the parking situation when I look at a new site. Now, when you're just at that initial stage of what's available at that site, if you click on one of these polygons of that site, it will tell you what you're allowed to do at that specific site. And so you can see this specific site for deer firearm special hunt area permit required from the Springfield permit office, and that's the process that we're actually going through right now. Same with
Hmm.
this deer muzzleloader. So it gives you really good indication as you're just clicking around this map, looking at different Illinois DNR properties and seeing, okay, do they allow? Okay, this one does allow deer firearm too. And so it just gives you a really quick snapshot to be able to see what's within your personal travel distance because not everybody wants to drive 6 hours, right? So just definitely keep that in mind. It's a great tool. And now we'll kind of dive in a little bit of what specifically I like to look for when I'm looking at a specific site. Jason's got some really nice data and metrics he's going to show us in a little bit that he'll
Hmm.
dive into us that'll kind of help rank some of these sites from site to site. But one thing I really like to look for, and I hinted at it, was parking lots. Parking lots not only tell you where other hunters are going to be, but it gives you a really easy way to access. And for me, being able to visually see it like this, the first thing I look at when I'm looking at a map like this is, okay, where are those areas that are hard to get to from a parking lot? Those are the areas immediately in my mind when I think of deer firearm season. Because again, by the time you get to deer firearm season, they've already been hunted a month and a half, right? They've been through the archery season. They've probably had a youth hunt at that site. And so these deer are starting to get pressured and they're starting to go to some of these what I call sanctuary areas where they're just not getting disturbed. And so that's the first thing I always look at when I'm looking for a deer firearm spot is where are some of these areas that are a little bit tougher to get to. So this whole center here, that's pretty far from a lot of parking lots. This whole section up here, pretty far from some parking lots. Anything along this west border, sure you have
Hmm.
some private land that you may have to contend with, but again, there's not a lot of parking. It's really important to note that the average hunter does not travel very far on public land. There are certainly a bunch of us that do, but you're more likely to find a lot more hunters congregated around open fields, congregated around parking lots within, a quarter, half mile of a parking lot. If I can find areas that I can get further away from that or get more interior, chances are, especially on public land, that's going to be some kind of refuge for wildlife. It just naturally happens when they find areas that they aren't getting bumped out of their bed at 4 in the morning by some guy clanking around on a metal tree stand with a red headlight on his head, and so they just naturally find these areas. And so that's the first thing I always look for is I just quickly look around a map. There's some really good areas in here that have good mosaic and a lot of edge. And so if you've taken any of our deer webinars in the past, you know how much we hit on edge. Deer are what we consider an edge species. So that means they really like these areas where you have two intersecting habitats coming together. It can be a forest to a prairie. It can be a prairie to a mowed area. It could be a forest to a shrubland. But you can see a lot of this edge over here. That immediately gets me fired up. This is the kind of stuff I really like to look for firearm deer season. And seeing abundance of this away from some main parking lots gives me a good indication that this is probably a feasible spot to focus on. And when I see things like this, yeah, I really get fired up. And so we'll zoom in on this field. You can even see, I don't want to 100% say these are deer trails meandering through this field, but it would not doubt me if that's the case. And so when I find fields like this that look like it was an open field, kind of like this above, where the forest is starting to reclaim it, deer love that. Deer are edge species, but they also love early successional habitat. And so that's shrublands, that's young trees. That's you all hear people, oh, the buck was in the biggest thicket ever. Why? That they like that. That's the cover they like. It has a ton of food, it's got a ton of resources, and it's got a ton of cover. So I love finding fields like this that look like they were once fields, but you can see all these trees starting to slowly reclaim it, and that forest starting to kind of retake over that field. That's going to be a thick habitat, and something is going to be using that for bedding.
Yeah, and Jim Egger is a huge site. I mean, it's over 60,000
Oh,
acres. There are
it's
other sites
enormous. Yeah.
that are available that are under 1,000 acres. And when you look at those sites, you got to see, and we'll show you other tools to help you know if it's like a square and it's just woods, are there deer being harvested off that site or not? And we'll go over that in a second with the harvest report.
And also,
But being able
just
to
one
look at
more
it with
thing,
that
since
map,
this is a perfect representation, Jason, I'll throw it back to you,
yeah,
is look
yep,
for offshoots on properties too. There's a lot of properties that have little tiny sections of land that are not contiguous with the big chunk of property like this. This would be probably, I don't want to say completely overlooked. There's going to be some people hunting it, but little areas like this that are off of the main property that still have a ton of good habitat. And again, I mean, up in this whole area up here, you're not getting to it. You have to walk through the entire thing. There's probably going to
hmm
be a lot of habitat in here, a lot of deer activity. I mean, look at just the continuous forest in this area. So that's the kind of stuff I look for right up front.
hmm Yep. So there you go. So that's one website to help you figure out what site you're going to look at, as well as the habitat that's at the site, and how large the site is and where it is compared to you. So that's step one. So is if you're willing to drive to a site and if it's within your area that you're willing to go hunting at. So then I'll go back to the PowerPoint here.
And while you do that, Jason, I'm going to pull up OnX too, just to show a couple other things, but take your time whenever you're done. I'll take it back over.
Mhm. All right. Do you want to go over on X now, Dan, or you want to go over the uh,
Go ahead
digest?
and go through the report. It's going to take me a second to load and find the spot I want to show.
Sure. All right. So the first site was to kind of give you an idea of what site might be near you, the habitat there, and if it looks like something that would be something worth hunting. This next one is going to be the Hunting and Trapping Digest. This comes out annually, usually August, around a state fair time. They try to get it out so that way it's ready before the season and they can have it at the state fair tent so they can hand it out to folks. So late August, this should come out, if not sooner. And you can click on this and it can go, and there is a overlooked table in the back which we're going to show you here. I will share my computer screen. Hopefully this works well. All right, so that's the Hunt Illinois. So here is the digest. We're going to pull the digest up. Dan, are you able to see the digest on the screen right now?
Yep, got it.
All right. Cool. So the digests, you can find them at your big box stores like a Walmart sporting goods section. At least they should have them anymore. If not, you can find them at like your local sporting goods store or any IDNR site. You can also get the PDF of it off of their webpage here, which is what I've clicked on, and it has all the different kind of Spark Notes version of the different laws. This is not the full wildlife code. This is just a summary of laws that you can look at that are pertinent to hunters. You can go through, and this also shows this different sites near you. So they have it broken down in the back of the map. If you are more of a paper person more than an internet person, you can go there and kind of see the locations of each site in each different region of the state they have broken down. But at the very back of the book, they have, starting on page 59, it looks like, they have this table, which is the public hunt area. And they have each public hunt area listed here, the site name on the left-hand side. And then it shows what they have to offer at each site when it comes to hunting. And then you can look to see if there's an X, then it's not there. If there's an S, then that means that they have that special site tag or the site specific tag. And then if there's a C, there is a county level tag. So you can see that here, the county permit required. And then S would be the special hunt area permit required, which is basically your site specific tag. So S and C is what we're really looking at. You can see what the other ones mean. Um, so then, so X means that it is available at the site. Okay, cool. You can go through and see if the point is to see if there's a county level tag or a site specific tag for each site when it comes to deer firearm. So right here you can see the deer firearm. So you can see at Batchtown they actually have a county level tag. And then usually it's in the south and southwest of the state are much more of the county level tag sites. This is important because you're more likely to get a county level tag than you are to get a site specific tag. So if you apply in the first lottery and you don't get a tag, you have a good chance in the second lottery to apply and still get a tag if you want to go county level tag and are willing to go down to the Shawnee or one of these state sites that take a county level tag. You have anything else to add to that, Dan?
No, just one thing I'll say is don't overlook the Shawnee.
Yeah.
It gets hunted hard. It gets hunted hard, but there is a ton of land down there. We were just down there for a big mentor turkey hunt a few weeks back, and we had the time of our lives. And the really nice thing about down there is the opportunity, right? And so we were dealing with some really unique circumstances. We had that 100-year flood, literally stopped raining Sunday, and we went hunting on Monday. And so 70% of our unit was flooded. So we had to very quickly pivot and try, okay, well, where's some more of these lands that we can actually hunt on here? And that's where a lot of these county options really opened up. And so these are all DNR sites, but they were able to be hunted with a county level tag. So we were immediately able to pivot. And the same thing is going to go true for deer in many of those sites and many of those areas. So really take heed of what Jason's discussing there and using that booklet because it really can save you from a hunt that may not have played out the way you anticipated. Oh crap! Well, now I don't have a tag. At least you've got some options.
Yeah, Dan and I were sitting there in the car that first day with everything flooded. We couldn't even get down to the area of the Shawnee we wanted to, and we were right near Kincaid Lake, and we pulled up the digest and saw that spring turkey season is a county level tag at Kincaid Lake, so we were able to go turkey hunt Kincaid Lake. So that saved us,
It
and
saved
then
us a lot.
yeah, and then we also used the huntillinois.org website gives you site specific regulations as well, and that showed that it did not require a windshield card. So that was good to know too, because we didn't have a printer with us, so we didn't have to worry about printing out a windshield card, and we were good to go hunt Kincaid without any issue.
I like it. All right. I'm going to
Yep.
take back over the map real quick and then we'll throw it over to you for those reports.
Yeah. And hunting the Shawnee, if you ever go down south, you need one of these map apps to help show the different property borders because the Shawnee is not a continuous forest. It's different segments over the landscape. So to know where it starts and stops, it's not well posted. So having that down there is a lifesaver.
And
It
so
would be
that,
almost impossible to hunt the Shawnee without it.
oh, it would be. I mean, even the amount of hunters we
Yeah.
ran into, even ones that were up there in age. They're retired. They've been hunting down there. I mean, we've ran into one guy who's hunted down there for 40 years. He's like, yeah, when I got Onyx, it changed the way I hunt down here. It made things so much simpler. And so that's what I'm
Hmm.
showing right now. Now, I'm not necessarily, there's a bunch of different brands. There's Onyx, there's Hunt Stand. There's so many different options that are out there now. But historically, we also used to have to carry a physical GPS that we had to buy map cards for, and we had to update those. We had to basically buy a new map chip every single year to make our GPS still have the most current data. Now we all carry smartphones, and we have this amazing tools at our fingerprint. So what I want to show is just a few options or a few things that can really help you kind of pinpoint a few locations using some of these other tools. And so again, this happens to be Onyx. They all have a lot of the same features. And this actually
Hmm.
happens to be the county that we are hunting down in the Shawnee. And so you can see all these green areas, all these green polygons inside the borders. That's all federal land that is able to just get a permit and go hunt. These blue lands are some of those state lands that we are able to find out through using the back of the digest that, hey, you can hunt those still with that county level tag. So you didn't have to go through and obtain that site specific special hunt area permit. You could just obtain that county permit. But one thing I want to focus on is they're starting to add more and more data to a lot of these services. And one of the biggest ones I've been using quite a bit recently, I know my map probably looks atrocious right now with everything going on, but all of these little red polygons that you see, these red squares that are kind of everywhere. So these are where they anticipate good oak stands to be. And so the way they do this is by using a combination of soil data as well as some LiDAR data to basically come to a prescription that, hey, this stand is going to have oaks. And so I like to look at this a lot just to give me a good idea of, obviously, deer, especially in the fall, especially by the time we get to firearm season. The harvest is pretty much all done. The crops are out of the ground. The corn's going to be gone. The beans are mostly going to be gone. There's not going to be a ton of leftover food out there. And so you're going to see that huge transition at the end of October and early November, right before deer firearm season, as they shift into these basically feeding primarily on oaks. And so this gives you a really good, quick, easy way of just looking at, are there a bunch of oaks in that area that I want to hunt? Because again, if there's not a lot of oaks in that area, they may not be there because that's what they're really primarily going to be feeding on. Now, obviously, this is not 100% exact. If you went to one of these squares, it may not actually have a nice oak stand. But again, what it really does is give you good representation from a zoomed out level to say, hey, that ridge looks like it has some oaks on top of that ridge. That's the kind of thing I'm keying into. So I'm not necessarily looking at the individual polygons of oaks. I'm more looking, oh, does this area have a lot of oak stands, or is it primarily a pine forest? Is it primarily a prairie? And so that's what it's really good for, is just giving you a good snapshot of, yep, there's a lot of oaks, and there's going to be a lot of food. That probably means the deer are going to be in there using it.
That's a good healthy forest stand. You got examples of like an area that's not as persistent in
Yeah, I'll,
oaks?
I'll pull one up. Go ahead and move on to your
Might
data,
be
and I'll
easier to
pull up a,
highlight that.
yeah.
Alrighty. All right, so using that again, looking at what site tag you want to purchase, and if you're looking at sites, and well, first off, if you're going to be hunting private land, just go for the county, and then you're done. That's just what you're going to do. But if you're looking at a public land site and trying to narrow down what your public land sites are that you have options for, you can use that hunt.org website to find it on a map. Then you can use the digest to see what kind of tags it takes. It would also have in the hunt.org website the site specific regulations, and you can look at that and it'll tell you what tags it would take as well. But if you want to expand out farther than that to try to find county level tags and you're not sure where to look at first, you can go in the back of that book and kind of use that table to help you narrow down from there too. Then we also say just because land is available for hunting deer, it might not mean that there's good deer population on it. I know Dan hinted at looking at the map, you can kind of see if the habitat's good, but there might be some reason why there aren't deer there for some reason. But we can look at the public land hunting areas report and see what the harvest has been historically on those sites and see if it's a good idea to go hunting there or not, and if there's a good deer population on that site or not. This also, because they don't tell you how many tags are available for each site, uh, you can
It's
use
kind of our
this as
best
an
option.
idea
Yeah.
to give you how many tags are out there and be like, okay, well, clearly if there's 60 deer harvested off this site and there's only so many hunters that are successful, there's going to be over 60 tags available for the site. So this might be a good one to apply for as a backup because you're going to have a good chance of getting a tag there, and maybe rank a more specific site that might be closer to your house as your first one that might only have 20 tags available, and then go to one that has over 100 tags available as a backup in case
And
as your catch
that's
all.
normally my application strategy is put in my
Yeah.
first choice as the bread and butter where I really want to tag. And then the second one, I'll pick one of the larger sites in the state that give a lot of permits, that have a lot of deer, have a lot of access and opportunity, and put that as my backup. But one thing, well, Jason, go ahead and advance your slide.
Oh,
One thing I
okay.
want to point out about those public lands hunting reports is I'm
I was
not
just
too
going to show
concerned.
the report itself.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm not really too
If I can
concerned
get there.
about the exact number of deer that were harvested at an individual site last year. What I'm more concerned about, what I pay more attention to, is trends. And so Jason, we'll get to in a second, he basically put together some 5 year trends where he looked through all these reports and looked at harvest over time and basically came out with a 5 year average. And what that allows you to do is kind of
Oh, geez. There we go. Sorry, guys.
clean.
Sorry about
No, you're good. But
there you go.
essentially clean the data a little bit, right? Because you can have a bad EHD die up. You can have a really bad weather year. You can have an area like we ran into when we were turkey hunting that flooded out. And that could really impact that harvest for a particular year. And let's say you only look at the harvest of 2022, 2023 to make your decision. Well, you may go to a site and, oh, they only harvested one deer that year. I'm not even going to ever think about that site again. Where in reality, maybe historically they harvest 60, 70 deer. And there are some instances where you'll find properties that just don't have data submitted. Clinton Lake State Recreation Area is a perfect example of it. The reason they're ranked this low on this list is because they had a year where they just didn't have anything reported. Where I know
Oh, I
they
corrected
harvested
it.
a bunch of deer. Did you? You found
Yep.
it?
So no, I just that's a 4 year average for instead because they missed last year. There was no
Okay.
data
Yep.
in the
Yep.
harvest. So that's a four. I corrected it just to fit because I
Perfect.
knew it should have been higher than what it was. So that's a 4 year average versus a 5 year average. I should have a star next to it if I was ever going to publish this and say
Yeah. If it
that,
was
but
fancy,
this is just
fancy.
real
Yeah.
quick. Yeah.
But again, what this
But
really does is
yeah.
just give you a very good snapshot trend of okay, what are some of the sites that have the highest harvest? Maybe those aren't the ones you want to go for. Maybe you want to try to find some of those smaller parcels. But the nice thing about seeing the data like this is there's going to be a lot of permits awarded at Rend Lake, at Jim Edgar, at Pyramid, at 10. All these sites that are ranked very high, they're ranked that high because they harvest a lot of deer. They harvest a lot of deer because they allocate a lot of permits.
Hmm. And they're very large sites.
The huge sites. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, um but to show I'm gonna try to get back to it's hard to pick out which of these share screens is the one that is the website. I think it's this one. Share that.
And a
Okay.
pro tip for all of our listeners, navigating the DNR website is not easy. The easiest way I found is just go to Google, type in Illinois DNR, and then whatever you're looking for. So to get to public hunting area, I just Illinois DNR public lands hunting reports, and it pops up way quicker than I could find it navigating through their website.
Absolutely. So then scroll on down. So I'm just gonna show the first page here.
Yep.
It's very basic. I mean, it goes by site name and then the different classifications for the sites, be it a state park or a fish wildlife area, or various other ones. And then so you have the total hunted acres and total acres. So you can see some of these might have a campground in it or something that is not allowed to be hunted, or a lake. A lot of times you can't hunt a lake, so they won't count the lake acreage into
Or around their
the
shop facilities, little things like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
anything like that. So again, let's go down to Jim Egger because we've been trying to it's the biggest site, so we don't feel like we're giving anyone's spot away by talking about Jim Egger. Okay. So again, okay, so it's not 60,000, 16,000 acres, which is wild. And then you have total hunting trips. So you get that from the windshield cards. So people who will report their windshield card information, they can get that from there. Falconry trips. There are some falconers still out there, and we're actually friends with a few of them. So that's their information when they report that. Dove hunting trips, and then you have the harvest. So, and then looking from year to year helps you because sometimes this might be put in wrong or something. There might be a glitch where the data wasn't correct, or wasn't reported because maybe when they asked for the numbers, someone didn't turn them in for some reason in time for the report. I don't know why Clinton Lake was missed last year, but any number of reasons. It also, again, Dan talked about the trends. So just look at a couple of reports if you're when you're picking down, narrow down like maybe 5 sites near you, and then look at the last 5 years for those 5 sites and kind of get an idea of what those trends are. So,
And I do recommend. I know obviously we're talking about deer firearm at this
mhm.
webinar, but I do recommend, and I know Jason pulled those 5 year data too. I recommend looking at the archery numbers too, because normally archery harvest is going to be substantially higher than firearm harvest in most areas, and so that's at least a good trend. Again, that just tells you there's a lot of deer at that site. And oftentimes I'll even compare. Okay, is the archery higher than the firearm? Why? And so sometimes even playing into that a little bit is interesting. But yeah, like Jim Edgar Panther Creek, what 263 deer during archery season and
Yep,
almost 96 during. I mean, that's the big difference.
so many deer. Uh, yeah. So there you go. Nice
But yeah,
Kaskaskia River has
this is
100
by
deer
far the
taken.
best data that we as public hunters have in the state of Illinois to use to help inform our decisions. Is it perfect? No, but again, it's the best we've got, and so it's better than nothing.
Yeah, like, do you want to be the one hunter in this lot? Since it's a lottery system, I mean, someone's willing to do it. So someone put in
Mm-hmm.
knowing that only one deer was harvested off of there, and they were the one who get it. So I guess Mississippi Pool 12 is probably it's still 7,000 acres, but I don't know how much of that is good for deer or not. I'm not sure, but
A lot of duck habitat over there.
yeah, I imagine, right? So again, this gives you an idea of the quality of deer habitat, not just the quality of habitat, but the quality of the deer population and the amount
And
of tags
obviously,
given to
we
you.
use this thing for everything. We're using it for
Yeah,
squirrel. Whenever we're like, hey, let's go squirrel hunt. Hey, let's pull up this and let's see
yeah.
what some of these. It gives you an instant. Okay, there's a lot of squirrels at that site, or oh, they haven't shot a squirrel there in decades. Oh, okay, maybe maybe
Same with
look
the
elsewhere.
upland. There's a free upland lottery in August if you're not familiar with that, and then you can use this for the upland lottery to see, okay, wow, there's 35 quail that were taken at Peabody, like that's crazy, and then 30 pheasants at Purdueville. So it gives you an idea where the upland birds are at because not every site's going to have upland habitat or upland birds living in the habitat. So
And go ahead and scroll all the way down, just since we hit
sure,
on pretty much everything. There is an
waterfowl.
entire different section on waterfowl. So as you can see, it's organized differently, but again, it's all the same data. It's good. It's better than nothing. And the waterfowl, I think, is probably a little bit more accurate, just because the way you have to
Identify the bird.
identify every individual species. Yeah, everything.
Hmm.
And also the hunter trips are going to be a lot more accurate on the waterfowl side too. But again, it's data that we have. It can
Yeah.
help you make an informed decision for sure. Because I'm not going to go hunt an area that harvested zero ducks when I could go harvest or go to Carlisle Lake where they killed over 6,000 ducks. Like the one just tells me, hey, there's probably better habitat here. Does it get hunted harder? Yes. Is it going to be harder to hunt just to get an opportunity or to get a permit? Potentially. But I know if I do get a permit, I'm probably going to be in a pretty good spot that's going to have a lot of game.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Share.
And we're wrapping up here, but does anyone have any questions as we kind of finish this out? This is our first
Yep.
time trying something, a webinar like this, so we hope you learned at least something, maybe learned a few ways to think about things differently. But again, definitely take this idea and run with it. And you can also do. When I first moved to Illinois, one thing I was big on was doing a basically hunter success rate, and so I would take the hunter trips from that public lands hunting report and compare that to the harvest. The challenge there is the way that hunter trips are tallied and quantified differ from site to site. So it's not a very perfect comparison from site to site, where this is a little bit more, I think, apples to apples comparison. But you can certainly look at hunter trips and just use that as an overall indication of if it gets pressured or not.
Yeah. And another one would be harvest per acreage.
Yeah,
That's a little
that's
bit
another
better.
really good one.
That's a good one because I mean, you don't know what the hunter was hunting for. Like they could have went out dove hunting, and you're counting that hunting trip towards. Well, I know well
Exactly,
they had dove hunting
exactly.
trips there, but you know what I mean though. Like they could have been squirrel hunting instead of deer hunting. You don't know. But when it comes to the deer per acre uh, quotient, we have a question. First time hunter, good information. I use these tools for my fifth season turkey hunt coming
Oh,
up in
good
May.
luck,
Good
good
luck.
luck.
Yeah, I'm going out in fourth
I
season.
hope it's
So
better.
I don't have
I
public
had
land
second
in our
season this year, and
county,
it was a little slow for
unfortunately.
me.
That stinks to not have any public land in your entire county. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, that's a
that's a
bummer.
bummer. I mean, in
Yep.
reality, we don't either. We have to travel an hour or so to get to ours. I don't think
Yeah, I
there's
hunt a different
any
county.
in Champaign County. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I got about 45 minutes to get to where I'm going.
Yep.
Cool. Good luck hunting. Hopefully this helps
Yeah,
you for deer
absolutely.
season. Get your tag in. So just to let us know if you have any questions at all. But so then when you go to check out, you're gonna have you'll see your choices that you selected. Again, this is your last chance to make sure that you didn't pick a county unless you wanted that county. So it will tell you the management zone unit and what type of tag you selected it for. Make sure everything's makes sense. Then you hit checkout.
And as you can see, we did blur out some of my information here. This page would be a lot more filled out with your. We just
Yeah.
wanted to cover up some of my personal information. I just wanted to.
Yep. And then Danny, you want to talk a little bit about ICF and this
Yeah, so
donation that they
ICF,
have
every
here?
time you purchase a license, you purchase any credential and application through the Explore More portal, you'll get this pop up. The Illinois Conservation has been a fantastic partner of ours here at Learn to Hunt. They've helped us out a lot. They're one of our biggest partners for a big event, Illinois Hunt Camp, which is September 27th this year. We'll start taking registrations here for that pretty soon. But if you're interested in winning gear, learning stuff, meeting new people, winning mentored hunts. I think last year we gave out 55 mentored hunts, a lot of waterfowl hunts, a lot of squirrel hunts, a lot of deer hunts, some really cool stuff. So definitely check that out. But they're one of our biggest partners, and so this gives you a really good chance to immediately donate to them. And their whole thing is just getting more and more people into the outdoors. And so again, not urging you, but definitely look into them, especially if you have youth around. If you have some kids that you're interested in getting into hunting, that's where the ICF, the Illinois Conservation Foundation, does a fantastic job. They host so many different youth events all across the state, all across the year, whether it's fishing, whether it's camping, whether it's hiking, whether it's hunting. They have a lot of mentored turkey hunts. They have a lot of mentored deer hunts for youth. Definitely check them out. But you do get an option to donate directly to them through this portal.
Mhm. And then Dan, we had a few questions come through. So
Yeah,
one question was, would I need to do a group hunt if my child is with me or a separate tag?
good question. So first of all, it depends. Is that child going to be what we consider a hunter? So are they actually going to be holding the firearm and trying to take an animal? If so, they will need their own special permit. They'll also need hunter safety. They'll need their own hunting license. They will basically need all of the credentials. Now, if they're just going along with you as a non-hunting spectator, excuse me, sorry about that. They do not need
Mhm.
anything. They do need blaze orange since you'll be out there during firearm season. So just to keep them safe, legally they need to have a blaze orange or blaze pink hat and an upper vest that is 400 square inches. Any vest will suffice. But as long as they're not actively trying to hunt, then no, they can just go along, enjoy the day with you. Um, oh well, fantastic. If he's already passed and has a full hunting license, and you're willing to take him, then yes, but he would need his own individual permit. Now, what I would recommend for anybody who does have youth is look at the youth hunts. So there's an entire different section of firearm hunting opportunities that are just for youth. They get an entire weekend that's before the normal firearm deer hunter. So growing up, the youth season was my jam. I killed so many big bucks in youth season because it's always before the real hunters got out there. It's before the rut really kicked in. And so it's a great opportunity to get youth out there. So definitely look at youth hunting opportunities. And there's a lot of them available on DNR public sites as well. So definitely check into that.
Yeah,
Another question. Oh,
real quick, Dan,
yeah.
before we move on from that, you can do a group. You can definitely do a group application though if you want to try to make sure that you and your kid
Mhm.
both are guaranteed to get licenses that year. So you can definitely do a group and then have them apply as the get that group number like Dan went through, and he'll be able to have the same tags as you for the same hunting areas. And then
But I highly
also look
recommend
at
the youth hunts because you're going to
the
have
youth
less
hunts. Yeah.
pressure, both in terms of just who's out on the landscape, but there's also not a ton of applicants. I think last year they awarded, I don't even want to say, like below 2,000, I think.
So, okay, so for them as instead of doing a group, having them apply not as a group would give
That
the
would be my
kid a chance to
recommendation.
do the youth hunt. But if they did a
Correct.
group hunt, then he doesn't get a chance to do well, he'd
Correct.
just get a deer tag as a youth. Okay.
Potentially.
I never had a kid, so I didn't know about the whole youth thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so applying separately would get you the chance to do the youth hunt.
Yep, and you can put
Okay.
in for specific hunts. And the nice thing is, again, those hunts are before the deer are really on the. Like this year, I think they set a youth record by like 800 deer, something
Yeah.
absurd. Like they blew the old record out of the water, and I think that's only going to continue. So definitely, if you have kids and they're licensed, do you feel like they're mature enough to hunt? Definitely look into the youth hunting opportunities for sure. Both on there's upland, so pheasant youth hunts, there's deer youth hunts, there's turkey youth hunts, and again, these are all additional hunts that are before the vast majority of the Illinois public get a chance. And obviously, the whole goal is to get more kids involved, get them hooked. So let's give them a good first experience. And so that's what this is all about.
I would also look at the IRAP program too,
Yes,
which is another thing for youth as well. But it's not just for youth; it's for everybody. If you're a new hunter at all, look at the IRAP program. We're not going into that right now, but we have on our YouTube channel. We have a webinar going over the IRAP program. But basically, it's the Illinois Recreation Access Program, which allows private landowners to open up their land to hunters to come in, and then they get like a management plan from the DNR, and they kind of get help from
a
the
little bit of
DNR
cost share,
and
and yeah,
yeah, a little bit of cost share and stuff like that. But so it's just a private property that you then have access to. So it's like your own private property for that week or that time period that you've won. It's another lottery to get applied for, but you can go to the IRAP program, Illinois IRAP, and you'll be able to look at all the information there about the youth hunts and things like that. But that's definitely another opportunity if you're having trouble finding access. And then there's another question there, Dan, where is there any way to rent firearms, like rent a muzzleloader? Like if you're interested in muzzleloader hunting, but you don't want to purchase one yet? I don't know of one off the top of my head. Do you know of
I don't
any?
know. I can ask around because I'm pretty well connected to the firearm committee, especially I know Chris quite well, so especially where he lives. Um, I would give it some thought before, and I'll try to get back to you this week or early next week. But one thing I do want to mention: if you're brand new to muzzleloader hunting, it is a completely different beast than just shotgun or typical rifle hunting. And the big thing with this is the equipment that's needed. Obviously, you need a rifle, which the nice thing is muzzleloader rifles, comparatively speaking, they're relatively on the expensive side. If you're looking at like a 350 Legend or something, that can be close to $1,000. You can get a really nice muzzleloader. I think I bought mine for under $300 not too long ago. So you can get normally pretty affordable firearms. Now the biggest challenge though is sighting it in and shooting. If you're used to firearms, a lot of times you may clean your gun once when you get back from the range, maybe if you're really take care of your stuff, or maybe once every 6 months, or some of us once every year or two, or maybe only when things go wrong. The thing about a muzzleloader is that will need to be cleaned after every single shot. Every shot you need to run a swab through, you need to clean it out. It will get gummed up quick. That black powder is nasty stuff that just sticks to everything. It's not very controlled, and so you will need to basically between every single shot. And so there are a lot of nuances to think about in terms of muzzleloader hunting. But I would say my favorite part of muzzleloader hunting is one, you get to go out there an extra weekend, but two, it has this connection with like our historical roots a little bit. There's just something really cathartic. I don't know if cathartic is the right word, but cathartic about putting in a
I would say
patch, putting in a
romantic.
ball, taking yeah, it's very romanticized hunting. It just makes you feel like you're really hunting, I guess, for lack of a better term. But unfortunately, I don't know any groups or anybody that like rents a muzzleloader out. But I'll look out and try to get back to you on that, Chris. But again, I would recommend doing a little bit of research on it if you haven't at the moment, just because there is a lot of distinct nuances between that and just typical firearm hunting. But again, it opens up a lot of additional opportunity. And this is not something unique to Illinois. This is something that when I first started hunting in the mid 90s, states really started to push this muzzleloader season because again, it's an entire extra season to get people out there with a firearm in their hand, which has increased lethality over archery equipment, reduced that herd a little bit more. And we've even seen some states shift even further. So like Missouri, they had a muzzleloader season. They've now transitioned that to, they call it an alternative season. So you can use a handgun. You can use an atlatl, which is like a thing with a spear. So you can throw a spear at a deer. You can use your muzzle loaders. And so there are a lot of these different options. Now in Illinois, we're primarily talking muzzleloader here. But just keep that in mind that the whole idea of it was to get more opportunity with some different techniques, some just different strokes for different folks, basically. But definitely give it some research. I think you'll like it. It's very fun to shoot, but it does take some getting used to. because it's not an instantaneous. You pull the trigger on a normal center fire or rim fire, it goes bang. With a muzzleloader, it's a and then it goes off. So it it's a little different, a little different.
Yeah, it's for gearheads who like difficulty,
Yeah, yeah,
and also who want to be a old trapper person. I
yeah.
know I
Because you
grew up in
can buy those
Pennsylvania.
old Kentucky long rifle kits
Yeah,
online and build your own muzzleloader too. Yeah.
yep. I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I never even shot one, but I've seen them. But they have a flintlock season where it's not even
Hmm.
muzzleloader. You have to use not even, it has to be traditional flintlock,
I like that. I
which
like that.
is I know it would be cool to do it. I mean, I thought it was going to be neat when I hunted my great grandfather's 30-30 in Maine. It was like a cowboy gun,
Yeah.
and I always wanted to harvest something just because of the whole tradition of hunting with your great grandpa's gun. But man, if you had like a great grandpa's gun that was a flintlock, that
Yeah,
would be
that's
that'd
cool.
be wild. So this is just what the checkout looks like. So then you put in your card information like anything else. Like any, we're so used to purchasing things online nowadays. I think this would be
Yeah,
it. And
it
again,
comes
if
pretty
you aren't
natural.
selected, yeah, if you're not selected, you will get your money back. They do take it, and then you'll be reimbursed if you aren't selected. And then here are our information if you want to follow us on all of our social media accounts and our YouTube page. Again, our YouTube page has all the recordings of our past webinars as well as a lot of how-to videos. So if this is your first contact with us, go check out our YouTube page. It's going to have the most information available for you. We also have our website, which has been updated recently. If you've checked it out in the past 6 months, it's probably new to you now. It has a ton
And
of
every day it's changing with more
yeah.
content, more information.
Yep. Lauren is our new hire, and she's cranking out like textbook level, and also taking
She's
all of
very
our
good
old
at so
YouTube
yeah.
videos and organizing our stuff for us to so that way it's easier for you to access and find out the information that you need to get you out in the field and answer any questions you may have. So our website's getting better every day. But yeah, and then all of our updates will be on Facebook and Instagram as we go through the year and give updates on our webinars and our workshops. So again, any other questions about sites you're interested in going hunting at? If not, we'll get going. And that was a
Yeah, we'll
good.
keep it open for another maybe 5 minutes or so and then wrap up right at 7 o'clock.
Yep, sounds good.
Man, I look like a baby in some of those pictures there.
You've been here for a while.
I know,
We
man.
got to update our questions page. It's been the same one.
It has for a while, yeah. It
We
just
gotta
looks
get
so
yeah,
good
we gotta
though.
get Curtis and Lauren in here.
Are you even in there?
I don't think I'm even in here because I made this when I first started, so I don't even think I had photos of me yet.
Time. Oof.
Yeah, and thank you all for coming. I hopefully that
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
some
Yeah, we
helpful
hope you
information
enjoyed
for
it.
y'all.
My belly's rumbling. I'm getting hungry. All right. Well, I think everyone's starting to leave, so I think we're going to close it out for the night. But again, thanks for joining us tonight. Hey, there's a good question. Oh, any pointers for turkey hunt? Yes, yes, yes. Now we're speaking as I wear my NWTF hat. Jason goes, oh, here we go. My best recommendation is to go to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and go to Illinois Learn to Hunt and search for what I would recommend. You're probably past the stage where you need to learn regulations. Our
Hmm.
101 webinar is very much here's the regulations, here's how you get a permit, that kind of thing. If you need that refresher, absolutely watch that one. But what I highly recommend is watching our webinar called Turkey Hunting 102 and then Turkey Hunting Calling and Vocalizations. Both those are very strategic, where we talk about strategies, we talk about when to use what vocalizations, what a yelp means versus a purr to a turkey, because they all have different meanings, and how to kind of use those in your repertoire. So that would be my recommendation, is to check out those webinars. They're probably both an hour and some change length. A lot of information packed in there. And then if you have any questions after you watch those, feel free to shoot us a note on Facebook, Instagram, and we'll kind of help you refine any other ideas if you've got. But that's my best pointer right now, is we've put a lot of thought and care into those
Hmm.
webinars. So I think you'll learn a lot.
I think also on our website we have almost all the different infographics and stuff that we used on the webinars, and we put them on our website. I believe is updated now.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab a
Um,
link for that real quick.
yep. I mean, some of my favorite ones that we did in there where we had a table and we said, what are the scenarios that you might run into? And then what we would do in those scenarios. And there's probably like six scenarios. And then like how we would go about going after that. Like if it was a hen up tom, or if the tom wasn't coming, or if the tom did come, like all these different, like how to roost and all that. So yeah,
Oh, Ray Norbert. Hey, we have a friend who's hunted there a little bit. It's hard to tell if they'll be in the woods or the field. Now, I will say I just dropped the link to the in the chat that's got it takes you to our
our turkey
wild
page.
turkey page,
Yeah.
which has all of our turkey content on it. So start there. It's hard telling if they're going to be in fields. We've had some weird. I mean, it's been a weird spring. It's been wet. It's been a little. The temperature's been very up and down, even
Hmm.
more so than recent years. But when we were down in the Shawnee, that was opener of the entire year down in the southern zone. We were already finding hens nesting in that. Normally,
With
that's
eggs,
kind of
yeah,
unheard of.
we saw eggs that were predated, that
Yeah,
were eaten.
and we kicked several other hens off nest, and so it's very hard for me to tell exactly what they're going to be doing at this moment. But when I was out just this past week, again, my first 4 days were storms and rain, so I didn't even hunt the first 4 days. They weren't talking a lot off the roost. I had one really good day where they were very active on the roost, but that was pretty short lived. I did see a ton of hens feeding in the fields. I never once saw a tom strutting in the field. Again, I don't know if I'm early or if I'm late or if that wonky weather for a week really threw things up. But for fifth season, I would probably use very much a run and gun strategy. And Jason, you can kind of give your 2 cents here before we wrap up, if need be, is just run around, call a lot, and see if you get a response. Now that I agree with. I would probably not use decoys. Now I don't use decoys that often on public land much anymore. A lot of times I'll strategically set up myself with thick stuff behind me. So if I'm calling here and there happened to be a turkey behind me, the one I'm calling to wouldn't know it. So he would have to approach to be able to see her anyway. And so a lot of times I don't really use decoys, and especially in the fifth season, I might take them with me, have them in the car, especially if you're away from home, just in case you get in a situation where, and we talk about this a lot in the webinars, but if you get in a situation where you have a tom that just won't come in, and maybe you tried that for an entire day, well, maybe the next day try to put out some decoys, maybe try to create that a little bit of urgency to try to get them to come in. But I always start day one or day two without any decoys and just try to get the pulse of the birds there. But yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely
agree with
check out
all
those
that.
webinars because we have an entire section on what to do with penned up birds.
It's been windy a lot lately, Dan. What does wind
It
tend to do
has.
for the birds?
It keeps them in the trees,
Yeah.
keeps them quiet. I mean, that was one thing I ran into is, I mean, I had a bird. If you listen to our newest podcast, I had a Jake that I was just walking down to an area where towards the river where we normally hear a lot of gobbles. And I just happened to be sitting there listening for gobbles. And I just do one of these, look up, and there happens to be a Jake 20 feet in the tree right above me. He probably saw me, but I kind of hunkered back down and I sat there with him till about 6:40 ish or so. So probably an hour after legal shooting light, if not even longer. And in Illinois, you cannot shoot a bird roosted in a tree until 7 a.m. So I was just sitting there watching my clock. Okay, can I get a few more minutes here? A few more minutes. It never panned out, but that was a super windy day. Now, I'm sure him seeing me probably kept him up in the trees a little bit more, but a lot of times that wind will do the same. The
Hmm.
podcast is on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's called Hunting Illinois Podcast.
Yep. And I start my season on Thursday. I'm fourth season, so I'll be going
Yeah,
out
so
and
we'll
just
have a
kind
lot of
of.
new updates coming out. So definitely, if you're interested in what the
Mhm.
turkey you're doing.
And then Dan's wife's fifth season, so hopefully we'll have a good
Oh
idea of
yeah,
what
yeah,
they did
yeah,
this whole
yeah.
year, because it has been kind of weird, and the morels have been weird too. At least in Central Illinois, like we thought I think we were early. I thought like 2 weeks ago I went out, and then I think last weekend, one of our ambassadors, Kelly, who we had on the podcast last week, she found a bunch. So I think that little bit of rain right before the weekend, this past weekend, um,
Yeah,
kicked them out a little bit. So
yeah, because I only found a handful.
hmm yeah,
They
so
were
it's been
good. They
weird.
were tasty. I'll tell you that. But I would love to
I
have a
find
whole
morel activity
smorgasbord.
and turkey activity go hand in hand.
It seems it. It seems it. All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate it. We'll talk at you guys on the next one. If you have any questions, reach out to us at any time. We love talking hunting. We're here to help.
Yeah, and let us know how you make out. If you ever are successful, let us know. You can send us a photo. We love to look at them.
Yep, and feel free if you've got a good story. We always love to have guests on the podcast. Tell your hunt, what you learned, how it went. We'll never shy away from that.
Hmm.
Awesome. All right, everyone,
All
have
right.
a great evening, and we'll catch you on the next one.